Welcome back to ITV Film, where we feature the best of filmmakers, writers, producers, and directors from around the world. I'm your host, Darren, and right now I'm standing in the Northwest Film Forum for STIFF 2009 with the one, the only, you know her, you love her, Eliana Soul. Eliana, how's it going this evening?
It's going great, thank you.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about your film, On Paper Wings.
Well, On Paper Wings is a feature documentary film, and it focuses on the people who were affected when a Japanese balloon bomb landed in Southern Oregon in 1945. So what happened was that in 1945, a Japanese balloon bomb landed in Southern Oregon and wound up killing the only people who were killed on the continental U.S. During World War II as the result of enemy action. But what the film is really about is that 40 years later, a group of Japanese women who were forced into working on the balloon bombs when they were children were put in touch with the families of the Oregonians who were killed during World War II. And these two groups of people actually became very good friends. So it's a story about the Japanese and American civilians who were affected by this incident and how they all came together.
That's very interesting. Now tell me a little bit about, did you get to travel for this film and go overseas and then come back to the States, or how was the process of the film? Because we were talking a little bit before the interview, and this wasn't just a film that was made, say, in 90 days, like a traditional feature-length film. It took a while. Tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, it took about 5.5 years to get this film made, and it did involve quite a bit of traveling, which is one of the reasons it took 5.5 years to get it made. I did wind up going to Japan for the film. I interviewed 4 women in Japan who worked on the balloon bombs when they were children, and who eventually came to Oregon 40 years after the war to meet with those affected in Oregon. I also did quite a bit of traveling around the United States. I went to the National Archives in College Park, Maryland, just to research the historical incident of the balloon bombs. And the balloon bombs themselves, and quite a few of the people who were affected in Oregon no longer live in Oregon, so I was doing quite a bit of traveling around the states just to meet with them and get their experiences on film.
Now, was there ever an estimated number of how many bombs were made? I mean, it sounded like there would have to be a lot to travel all the way across the Pacific Ocean. And was that the only one that was ever found, or were there more that were found that just never went off, or? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, there were a lot of balloon bombs that were launched. The Japanese actually launched around 9,000 balloon bombs in the period between November of 1944 through March or April of 1945. So they launched 9,000 balloon bombs in that time, and between 300 and 400 have actually been recovered all across North America, from Mexico all the way up to the Arctic Circle. One made it to Michigan, one made it to Kansas, and the one in Bly in Southern Oregon, the one that exploded there, was the only one that actually wound up killing people, civilians.
Now, how powerful were these bombs? I mean, I'm just a little intrigued. It sounds like something that you never hear of in wartime efforts. So obviously they crafted this, they put that together, but how powerful were these bombs? I mean, kill a few people, but were these enough to level a city, or was it enough to just a small town, or how big were they?
Well, so the majority of the bombs on the balloon bombs were actually incendiary bombs. One of the purposes of these bombs was to set massive forest fires on the West Coast. That was what the Japanese had wanted to do. However, they did also put one anti-personnel bomb on each balloon, attached to each balloon. And this was the bomb that exploded in Bly and that killed 1 pregnant woman and 5 children. So this one blast did kill all those people all at once. So the anti-personnel bombs were quite powerful. They certainly could not have leveled a city or anything like that, but I believe the crater it formed was about 3 feet across and 1 foot deep, so it was quite powerful.
Wow. And now you mentioned the survivors of this, though. They're friends. Is this something that they visit each other yearly, stay in touch via pen pal letter, or I'm sure maybe email or electronically now? How did the story turn out, basically?
Yeah, well, basically now the folks who I interviewed, they're unfortunately they are getting quite elderly. You know, these everybody I interviewed was in high school during World War II, so unfortunately they're quite elderly now, and many of them can no longer travel. Some of them are still trying to write letters back and forth, but the women in Japan actually don't speak English, and the women in America don't speak Japanese. And one thing that I left out was that these two groups were actually brought together by a Japanese American man who spent his wartime years interned in the Tule Lake internment camp, which is just 60 miles from where the explosion in Southern Oregon occurred. So he was actually the one who was really keeping these two groups in touch, and unfortunately he's not doing too well anymore, and so it's getting increasingly difficult for them to actually keep in touch. But it was wonderful that they did actually get to meet and come face to face. They began writing letters to each other in 1986, and in 1996, 10 years later, they actually came and met face to face.
That's an amazing tale. I mean, for almost 40 years, 50 years, you know, after an incident happens, that people are still able to reconcile their differences and meet up and get together, and you actually have documented that. That's just awesome. We'll be taking a look at that clip from the film, correct?
Yes.
Just right after the interview. You know, is there anything you want to let our ITV audience know, or aspiring filmmakers know? Word of wisdom, anything that you could give them as a piece of advice that you'd like to impart with them?
You know, I would just say it takes a long time to make a film, and from my personal experience, I think it's really important that when you're making a film, that you make it about something that you are very passionate about, because I think it's that passion that's going to get you through all those years of working on the film, and that's actually going to get the film done and completed, and that's really going to make it good. I hope my film is good.
Well, from what
it's really the passion that gets you through.
Yeah, from what I hear, you got a pretty solid audience in there tonight, and you know, it sounds like it's a very interesting piece. So, you know, where can people find out more information about your film?
They can visit the website. It's www.onpaperwingsthemovie.com, and they can read more about the film there. They can see where upcoming screenings are happening, and they can, if they're really interested, they can purchase a DVD. Awesome.
Well, Eliana, thank you very much for coming on ITV. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Don't forget, you can go to our website, itvnw.com, where you can register to become an ITV VIP member, enter to win free prizes, and win guest appearances on the show. This is Darren and Eliana, coming to you from the Northwest Film Forum for STIFF 2009 in Seattle. We'll be right back.
I'm attorney Alexander Ransom. Have you been charged with a DUI or faced any other criminal charges? If you're in trouble with the law, you need a trial attorney who's aggressive, experienced, and effective. Call today for a free consultation. The law offices of Alexander Ransom. I look forward to serving you and getting your criminal charges reduced or dismissed. Call today. The law offices of Alexander Ransom. Call today.
Oh, baby, you are the best. You are the best. You're so strong. You're so strong. So much support.
Our systems will rock your world.